So I am Geeti Panikar. I am heading the Enterprise Risk Management Department for HSBC Bank, Singapore. Coming from a risk management background, I would say having more women in the corporate, be it boards or senior management, or all at all levels, there is a tendency for women to balance risk with the reward and the possibility and consequences. So it makes corporate India or corporate world and even the entire world more safer when you have diversity of opinions and that balanced risk taking behavior. So that's the first thing I would say. Having more women across the board makes the world much more resilient. There is a saying which I think one of the last speeches in Herkes also I mentioned, that if Lehman Brothers was Lehman Sisters, the world would not have probably seen the crisis of 2008 and thereafter. The second reason is there is a business case for having companies, and there is evidence that companies who have greater number of board representation from women have been outperforming the peers, and there's also a future. But I want to look at little forward also, for looking at the next generation. They are more sensible and they are more asking for a gender diverse world. So if we don't demonstrate and role model that today or for the next generation, that we want to create a better world, then the corporate India or corporate world have to start role modeling for the demands and the aspirations of the next generation, women and all children. So that's the second reason I would say that we should have greater share of women. And the last piece is, when we say about a greater share of women, we should not just look at gender, what kind of women also, the heterogeneities of their experiences coming from different background, be it education or be it race or ethnicity, different backgrounds, financial backgrounds, all of them are equally important. And hence, the future corporate India should be a balanced mix of both gender, but gender from different backgrounds also.
The question that I'll come around the table with now is, what was the biggest roadblock that you faced in your career?
It was a very interesting to hear various stories of women who were going through motherhood, who were newly married, who were very young and living in an overseas country. So different diversified challenges we could hear, and it's a good learning experience for all of us as leaders to be mindful how we can protect women with right policies as interventions in within our organization. So in my case, it was a little bit different. I'm a single person, and that was one of the challenges that I faced. And when I say single, for example, early part of my career, there were when I go to work, there were a lot of conversation. Why is she single? Because in Indian culture, you expect a person to be married after 2025, and then when you are 30, 35, then conversation happens. So you tend to withdraw yourself from such conversation, and you feel that moments of exclusion. Second thing is, when you're single and you have a big team, when it comes to, and I have actually had this kind of conversations where, okay, you're single, you can work on weekends, you have more free time, you can work late nights because you don't have any cooking to do at home. And when a job share was allocated, I have faced those kind of question, and I was very young and naive. I used to go with the flow, and I used to think that, okay, doing more work, I get to learn more, and I used to pick up. But now when I look back, what I just ask myself, was it a right fair deal that I got? I don't think so. I was not paid more or not acknowledged more for those contribution. It was more, I wouldn't call it as an exploitation, but it was if they had given me work irrespective of my single status, I could still bear it. But that was a choice, and I shouldn't be penalized for that. So that was one thing. Another thing was characteristic. So my own personality, it was not very assertive. I was much more collaborative, and those personality attributes led to me taking a lot of things without saying no. I really had an inability to say no to more things, or things which are leading to deprioritization in within my to-do list. uh,
Right.
I think I recognize this as a major roadblock affecting my performance, my work-life balance, everything. Thankfully, after joining HSBC, and it's a great inclusive employer, some of the best bosses I've had here, and they not only talk about diversity, actually act it every day in every decision. And I had, fortunately, I'm thanking God, because my entire transformation in terms of personality, thinking, leadership skills, everything, they intervened with the right right courses or right experiences or right coaching, mentoring, personal mentoring they gave. And naturally I could see the transformation in my mind. So I think while these challenges will always be there, we have two choices. One, either bear it or defend it. I would say defend it, not just for yourself, but all, for all those women or all those other genders around it. And that's a choice that we should make.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Kirti. That was a beautiful way to wrap up this question. The second question at the table would be, what program or policy or initiative at your company has contributed significantly to increasing a woman's rise up the ladder? And the third question is, what change do you feel is necessary for women and companies to make in order to increase women at leadership levels, especially in a post-COVID world, right? We are living in a world that has, I don't know, been turned upon its head. So there's no way we can leave that out of the conversation. I'd really appreciate it if you would include that in your answer as well.
So we've been hearing from other participants about various interventions for hiring policies, sponsorship programs, mentoring programs, other opportunities being identified for new projects, etc., being assigned to women more so that they get a wider perspective, and other training programs for limiting belief, overcoming limiting beliefs. So most organizations, at least most multinationals, have these kind of policies, and HSBC is no exception. They have one of the best policies in the industry. In addition to that, what I've seen is in HSBC we have employee resource group, a group of like I'm a member of HSBC Balance and HSBC Pride. The Balance works for gender diversity and Pride works for LGBT colleagues for inclusion. So all who are passionate in this domain are voluntarily serving in those employee resource group, and HR and the senior management gives us full buy-in to work towards gender or the in full-fledged diversity, giving us the funds or opportunity to organize trainings on our own, addressing all those support need, designing policies in along with HR, and challenging policies also. And we also partner with other external organizations so that we can adopt some more best practices based on what we see in the industry. So for us, I think employee resource groups are very powerful. And the kind of management support I see, we have global exco sponsorship for our employee resource group, which is amazing. And then there's a robust challenge and discussion. I've been part of some of those discussion, and it has been very encouraging to me to see the commitment. Now, the one thing I would choose to challenge in this post pandemic world and in 2020 is the participation or diversity of opinion in meeting rooms. So while we have policies coming from hiring space or promotion space, etc., I think what we can improve is the diversity of opinion in meeting room. Especially we are in virtual meetings, so you have to unmute, and by the time you unmute, your chance may be over. And secondly, if you look at meeting rooms very closely, many times when you are alone in one single woman in the meeting room, or you're outnumbered, there is a hesitancy to speak, or when you speak, the chances of you getting overruled or your voice not being heard enough is a high probability. I'm not saying that this is a common issue across the board, but this can be a detrimental effect on women's career, because no matter how competent you are, how you are perceived by your peers and your senior management actually determines a lot of your career progress. So, in meeting rooms, if you are constantly overruled, or if you are not allowed to talk, or your opinions are undermined, the credibility that even if you are right, and because of the outnumbering, you are perceived to be maybe lacking something. And constantly, if it happens, it definitely will damage the career over a long. Some women are able to overcome, and some women are able to put it across. But when we talk about the middle management, okay, that is the spirit. Maybe board members are able to do it strongly, but the middle management and lower management level, I doubt, even including some of the senior management, I doubt women are fully able to address this. So that's one space I really want to choose to challenge this year. Is she invited to the meeting? First of all, is she given enough chance to speak? And if she speaks, is it heard? and heard with enough gravity? And is she responded to? These are the 3 4 questions I want to ask to all meeting rooms, not only in offices but also in our homes, when decisions are being taken, when matters of importance are discussed at home. Are these 4 things happening? That's what I want to challenge in the post
Lovely.
pandemic world.
Lovely. Thank you, Geeti. I like how you nitpicked that particular issue in the workplace.